very specific illicit desire to want underage people.
Well,
How do you even find out that someone's into that?
Well, I don't think that the majority or anything close to it of the women were technically. I mean, I think it was largely
Young.
very young, barely legal, so to speak. You can very easily see someone getting involved in that just because girls juice deals. Girls juice deals. Girls juice deals. And
Okay, so what I want to have a conversation with you guys about today is about this word track right here. Girls juice deals. So everybody come on in, grab your popcorn. We're going to talk about Joe Rogan and how, let's see, how are we going to say this? If you're rich and if you're on TV, most likely you're compromised. I didn't think Joe Rogan was or could be compromised because of who he actually is, but this is video proof that Joe Rogan has been compromised. And is he in the files? The answer is yes, but he's mentioned in the files. He's not in the files as in talking about pizza or at the island. So I'm not exactly sure if Joe Rogan ever went to the island, but I do have proof that Joe Rogan at some point refused to go to the island or have certain people on his podcast. But that does not mean he's not compromised. So I'm going to play this again. And what we're going to listen for is so many times Joe Rogan is going to act like this innocent victim and just say, oh, wow, that's crazy. Oh, wow, really? Oh, okay. So it wasn't tadpoles. The girls were 20. Oh, okay. And he's sitting here listening to this guy just lie. You got to remember, Epstein or Pedstein, I'm sorry, is in prison. And he went to prison, and he may still be, he might be in IHOP somewhere now, because a lot of us are saying that he's still alive, but he went to prison. And now you act like he went to prison for no reason. He got convicted for all of these different things. So why in the world, and you got to understand, Joe Rogan has the biggest podcast in the entire world. Why in the world would you sit here and try to cape for this man, try to defend this man? And he tries to make it look like he's not defending him by bringing somebody on his show that is defending what he's doing. Oh, he's just doing this to juice deals. All right. So everybody hit the like button, hype this video. I don't know what the hype button is. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. So make sure to hype the video if you see the hype button there, but make sure to hit the like button and let's get to it.
Very specific illicit desire to want underage people.
Well,
how do you even find out that someone's into that?
Well, I don't think that the majority or anything close to it of the women were technically. I mean, I think it was largely
young,
very young.
Y'all hear that, right? I don't know if they were technically. And this is the problem. This is the actual problem. Since he has the biggest podcast in the world, he brings people on and just like, oh, so they okay, they were just this. Okay, so they weren't this. And then this subtle change in this conversation can easily cause everybody watching, because he has the biggest podcast in the world, to say, oh, okay, so they weren't tadpoles. They were just like 20. And I think this is disgusting.
Barely legal, so to speak. You can very easily see someone getting involved in that just because girls juice deals. Girls juice deals. Girls juice deals.
So what girls juice deals actually means, he's correct in this, part right here, as long as the girls aren't tadpoles, because that's the biggest problem. So he's trying to conflate girls and tadpoles. All right. So what he's going to say is, or what he means is, juicing a deal is virtually every man on the planet, whether he's married, whether he's single, we love women and we love multiple women. Most of us, or most men, but most men can't or don't have access to multiple women. In other words, you don't have access to parties and you're flirting and hanging out with multiple women, like women everywhere, right? And I'm not saying a club, I mean a party, because a party is different than a club. A club is random women, and you got to walk up to them and ask to, buy them a drink or something, right? But a party is usually somebody invites you because the person that throws the party is inviting women, and everybody kind of knows everybody. So you kind of like have access to those multiple women at the party, because if you know the guy that threw the party, women are going to more or less be okay, or possibly, into, spending some time with you. So juicing deals is when a person is trying to get you to do something, whether it's do business with them or something. And next thing you know, the juicing of the deal is you're around multiple women and you having some food to eat and having some women to smash or flirt with or whatever, but most likely is, have sex with, is a good possibility that you'll do business with that person. But the problem is, what he's trying to conflate is, I'm not going to say there's nothing wrong with that, because women are used for currency in this situation, and women are people and not currency. Women are not currency. What's up, Allie? Women are people, right? But when people use women as currency, it does juice deals. It does make men, especially when they're older, want to do business with you because you have access to all these attractive women. All right. So I just want y'all to understand what juicing deals mean.
And Jeffrey Epstein, for the past.
Exactly. But they're not trafficking adults, they're trafficking tadpoles. And that's what I'm saying. He's using this juicing deals thing in order to make it look like what Epstein was doing was okay. And that's the actual problem. It is not okay, because they are tadpoles, and he's conflating that fact.
Just because girls juice deals, girls juice deals, girls juice deals. And Jeffrey Epstein, for the past 3 years of their lives has been the best weekend they've ever had, has made them feel alive again. It's because it's juiced by the girls, the parties, the lifestyle that Epstein allows you to have access to.
But in the public eye, the narrative is underage girls.
And it's no secret that Joe Rogan is compromised. He's been running cover for the elites.
You see how he said the narrative is tadpoles. He's in prison for tadpoles. Oh, y'all are hilarious. Juiced. I like that. See, the thing about it is, that is the subtle way he's trying to change the narrative. And if he's never been on Epstein Island, why is he doing this? Why? Why is he doing this if he's not dealing with trying to say Pedstein instead of the other word? Listen to this, y'all.
Best weekend they've ever had, has made them feel alive again. It's because it's juiced by the girls, the parties, the lifestyle that Epstein allows you to have access to.
But in the public eye, the narrative is underage girls.
And it's no secret.
Bro, it's not a narrative. Y'all see that? The narrative is that. He's in prison for that.
secret that Joe Rogan is compromised. He's been running cover for the elites for a couple of years now. Once Rogan's wealth and influence got their attention, he decided that having calls with the president and dinners with billionaires was worth more to him than being honest with his own audience. Joe sold out for access. He just wanted a seat at the table. And for us, that means we have to listen to him.
So did Joe Rogan sell out for access? Joe Rogan has been, okay, I have no idea why Joe Rogan makes so much money. I'm just going to say it. He's this old bald guy that isn't pleasant to look at. He's just this old bald guy. Because usually when you see everybody on TV, whether white or black, they usually look attractive. You got this old bald dude with gray hair just sitting there with this hoodie on, and he's just like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So what happened next? Oh, wow. And I'm like, yo, why? And I'm not being jealous, but I'm just looking at this and saying they usually put an attractive person, attractive woman, attractive man that looks cool. See, the thing about it is when it comes to attractiveness about men, I'm not attracted to men, but you look at a man, like a man looks at another man and says, I would love to be like him because he gets all the women, right? So when you look at a man as a man and you look at him and say, no woman would want to date him. I don't want to be him because women would not want to be with him. So the thing about it is, when you put a man that is not attractive on TV, it makes us men not want to be like him, because why would I want to be like Joe Rogan? And we're looking at attraction, right? The thing about it is, you put an attractive man on TV to make the rest of the men want to be like him. Nobody wants to be like Joe Rogan. He's just this old bald dude. Look at his eyes. He got like bags up on his eyes. He just looks like somebody's grandfather. But so without all that being said, I always ask myself, why is Joe Rogan the biggest podcast in the world? It doesn't make sense. And I always ask that. Why Joe Rogan out of all people? The biggest podcast in the world, of course, and Candace. See, we know why Candace is the biggest podcast in the world, because she's attractive. She's silly, right? We can tell why Candace is the biggest podcast in the world. And of course, she's talking about Charlie Kirk. She's talking about, the French people. There's a specific reason why you can know or understand why Candace Owens is the biggest podcast. But Joe Rogan? And he's been the biggest podcast for like almost 10 years, and he's still there. What I'm saying, or what I'm alluding to, is he's compromised, because you can't be the biggest, the best, anything for this long when you're not attractive. And that's what I'm saying. I don't want to see an attractive man, but the world wants to see an attractive man. I don't care. But I'm looking at this from a world point of view. You cannot be Joe Rogan and still be the biggest podcast in the world. You're not attractive enough to be that. So if you are that for almost 10 years, there's another reason why you are that, is what I'm saying. He's compromised. Now, would I personally go on Joe Rogan? Yes. Why? Because one, he's the biggest podcast in the world. I'm not dumb. And two, he has not been on an island. So that's another thing. So he's been asked to come to the island, and he said no. So that shows me that he's compromised, but he's holding at least a line of integrity. And that tells me that, okay, he's compromised in some type of way, but all of us possibly can get compromised in some type of way. And the fact that he's holding a line has me respecting him. So this is the line that Joe Rogan is holding. Joe Rogan is in the Epstein files, but it's not him being on the island. So watch this.
To introduce him to, we already saw this.
So shout out to Jimmy Dore.
Epstein asks Lawrence Krauss to introduce him to, we already saw this, right? Things are hectic. So sorry for not getting back to you earlier. Sorry to hear about the upheavals, but I know that you take these things in stride. I will reach out to Rogan. I think I have his email, or at least his producer's email. He lives and works in LA. So that's him responding to Jeffrey Epstein.
So this is funny because what Joe just showed me is his correspondence with Lawrence Krauss. So this is the other side of it, of what was going on.
Yeah.
And it was Epstein it was like some trick to try to rehab the guy.
In an email between Epstein and Lawrence Krauss, Epstein states, if he wants, Rogan can have dinner with Woody Allen on Friday. Worth mentioning that this email was dated September 24th, 2017, after Krauss appeared on Joe Rogan Experiences in March. So here it is. From my friend Arnold Felkoff, my diving instructor. Right. So then he writes back, Jeffrey Epstein says, if he wants, Rogan can have dinner with Woody Allen on Friday.
So right there, Pedstein is trying to get him to have dinner with Woody Allen. Let's see what happens next.
Friday. That's September. So this is their email thread.
What a privilege.
Good. Let me see back.
So this is what I'm saying. He can be compromised, but at least he's holding a line. So let me back it up a little bit.
That this email was dated September 24th, 2017, after Krauss appeared on Joe.
Now, remember, that's from 2017. 2017. Has Joe Rogan, gotten paid or gotten, I think so. But he did not go to Epstein Island, according to what we're hearing. So, shout out to Joe Rogan for holding the line. He didn't hold too much, but he's holding the line. And that is my point. Hold the line at least. If you want to get paid, somebody gives you $100 million and now you're defending somebody because they gave you $100 million, at least hold some type of line is all I'm saying.
Rogan Experiences in March. So here it is. From my friend Arnold Felkoff, my diving instructor. Right. So then he writes back, Jeffrey Epstein says, if he wants, Rogan can have dinner with Woody Allen on Friday. That's September. So this is their email thread.
What a privilege.
Good. Let me see back. Sorry about Rogan so far. He seems more timid than I would have thought.
Yeah, they always think he's some dickhead and that he's cool with awful people like that. They always assume because he's a dude, bros. He'll just come because it's fuck island, And they're all surprised that he's not like that.
So apparently, this is Rogan saying no. That was Rogan had said no. Sorry about Rogan so far. He seems more timid than I would have thought. Do you mean he means he doesn't want to go to the Epstein Island? He doesn't want to go hang out with Woody Allen and a bunch of other PDF files at Epstein Island. Joe Rogan.
So I just want to show y'all that Joe Rogan is in the Epstein files, but it's not him doing anything crazy. Okay. But we do have to look at Joe Rogan being compromised because regardless of what, in the video I'm about to show you, he's literally acting like Pedstein didn't do anything wrong. And that is the reason why I'm doing this show. All right. So somebody says, but it's a talk show, not a beauty contest. If it's video, it's a beauty contest. I need y'all to understand that. If it's video, it is a beauty contest. Nobody wants to see ugly ass people on any type of video ever. So I need y'all to understand that. And I'm not saying a person has to be a beauty king or beauty queen. You're missing my point. I'm saying, how is or why is Joe Rogan the biggest podcast in the world for almost 10 years straight? That is my point. I'm not saying Joe Rogan doesn't deserve a podcast. I'm not saying Joe Rogan isn't a good podcaster. I'm saying how his content has changed from actually like being the person that's just like, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, and galvanizing his audience to have the balls that he has, to the person who he is now and still be the biggest podcaster in the world. That's what I'm saying. So let's go back to this. And I want to show y'all some information that I found. I found a way to get videos from the Epstein files. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all are interested in learning how to do that. I found a way to get MP4s from the Epstein files. Maybe some of y'all found it out already, but put a 1 in the chat if you would like to know how to get MP4s from the Epstein files. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Things like underage people, and in the public eye, the narrative is underage girls. And he does it all with a straight face.
It's just crazy that statutory rape is what took it all down.
Listen to how he says, it's just crazy. He's going to say it's just crazy multiple times.
Right? Because it's underage jobs, right? That's what took it all down.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be what took Jeffrey Epstein down.
Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
And the verbiage is the problem. Why is it kind of crazy? And why are you seeming to be upset that that particular thing is what took Epstein down? You don't want that to take Epstein down? Like, take away what you think about Pedstein. If anybody was doing that, wouldn't you want that to be the main thing that took him down? Because here's what's crazy. You don't want a weed charge to take a person down because they'll be able to get out of jail. You don't want a domestic dispute to take a terrible person down because they can bail out of jail. You want the most heinous, terrible thing that they actually did to take them down so they won't be able to get out. So why in the world would you say that's crazy? Out of all things, that's what took him down? Yes, because what feds do, whether the feds are doing their jobs or whether they let him out of jail, let him out of prison and faked his death. But what the feds' job is to do is to find the number one thing that will get you put in prison for the rest of your life. That's their job. Say I'm a drug kingpin, right? But I get pulled over for speeding. And I'm a drug kingpin. They're going to let me go, saying now I don't have drugs in my car, because they don't want to get me on a bullshit charge, because I'm going to beat it. The feds wait for you. The feds sit on a case for like 5 years in order to get together enough information to take you down. That's their jobs. That's the reason why the federal government has a 96% conviction rate, because they wait. They make sure they get the worst thing that you ever did in life and then convict you. They want you to mess up later on down the road. So for him to turn around and say, wow, that's crazy. That's the way that's how they supposed to take him down. Because Pedstein had, and probably has, because he might still be alive, enough money to beat any charge except for PDF file charges. That's the hardest thing to ever beat.
at the table. And for us, that means we have to listen to him sit in his studio and say things like underage people, and in the public eye, the narrative is underage girls. And he does it all with a straight face.
It's just crazy that statutory rape is what took it all down, right?
And then even a word, I just thought about it. Statutory. Do you see the wording? I just thought about that. Statutory. Why did you put statutory in there? Statutory is when 18-year-old boy is dating I gotta change the wording, a 15-YO. That's what statutory is. You know, your 18-year-old son is messing with the neighbors, and a girl that's down the street, and she's a 15-YO and he's a 18-YO. That's statutory, but he's using these words in order to make it look like, oh, that's all it was? Statutory R wording? No, it was PDF file. The wording tells you that Joe Rogan has sold out. The wording says Joe Rogan is one of them now. He was one of us at first. I hate that. It's like every person that we look up to, or every person that actually makes it, ends up being one of them. It almost makes me like not want to blow up to a certain level, because at some point, I don't know, I'm gonna get visited by one of these weirdos or something. Because this is what I heard. When you make it, when you start, moving and shaking, you start getting invited to certain parties, right? Now, in Atlanta, I get invited to parties, but it's just Atlanta people. And there are a lot of millionaires in Atlanta, and I know a lot of millionaires in Atlanta. So it's like, it's just us. All right. We're kind of cliquey in Atlanta. But say I make it at some point, I get 1 million subscribers, and say I get, 50,000 people watching my show every day. Right. Next thing you know, most likely I'm going to get a phone call from somebody out in LA, somebody in Vegas, somebody somewhere else. Hey, I just want to know if you wanted to come out and, come to the so-and-so, right? Next thing you know, I go out there and they say, I think it'd be a good look. There's a lot of movers and shakers out there. And next thing you know, I go out there and I start rubbing elbows with famous people. And then that is not how they get you. When I'm out there, I get cool with a millionaire, a billionaire or something, right? Next thing you know, the billionaire is like, hey, I watch your videos. I like what you do. And what they end up saying is like, hey, let me get your number. And, I want, you want to come on my yacht, or we having parties over here. And then I go to another party. And then that other party is when they try to get me. And get me is possibly, I drink something, or there's two types of parties. There's this party, and then there's a late night party. And then a late night party is kind of like where all the gay people are, the gay stuff is going, all the weird stuff. And next thing you know, they like, hey, you sure you want to go over there? Because that's a different type of party. That's a party, kind of like with the Diddy stuff. Because that's what Diddy used to do. And that's how Diddy used to get people. Diddy, because I seen it. I didn't go to the Diddy parties, but I know people who got invited to the Diddy parties and went. And they would tell me that there was two types of parties. There's a normal day party, and then there's a night party. And only certain people get invited to the night party. And the people I know didn't even get invited to the night party. They need, nobody told them, that they can go. They got like, all right, it's time for y'all to go. And then the rest of the people would, do this and that. And that is when all the weird stuff happened. And that is when you get compromised right there. I don't want to get compromised. I don't want to go through all that. I just want to take care of my family.
because it's underage jobs, right? That's what took it all down.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seems to be what took Jeffrey Epstein down.
Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
I just don't understand why it's crazy, because he's trying to make it seem like he didn't do it.
Even that has a really interesting geopolitical history. There was a similar scandal in the early 2000s with a private military. Yeah, I mean,
Statutory rape is what took it all down,
I gotta get a new computer. I gotta get a new computer. So forgive me.
right? Because it's underage jobs, right? That's what took it all down.
yeah, I mean, well, it seems to be what took Jeffrey Epstein down.
Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
Even that has a really interesting geopolitical history. There was a similar scandal in the early 2000s with a private military contractor called DynCorp. They got in trouble basically trafficking underage kids to Middle Eastern sheikhs. And I believe the reason that was alleged by Congress that they did that was to juice the deals with them. They need the support of the local high-level officials. They need to be happy. And there's several currencies for that. There's financial payoffs, and there's other things they might like parties and young women. Especially in places where being with the very young female is not illegal. And so I would not be surprised if the Epstein trafficking apparatus started because it makes clients or customers or VIP people happy. If you're a 70-year-old billionaire, you can't walk into a bar and meet an 18-year-old. These things are facilitated at private parties. And it needs to, for a lot of these guys, it has to be discreet. They've got wives, they've got reputations. Our today.
So do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that? Do you agree that 70-year-old billionaires want to be around beautiful women, whether they're married or not? Take away the tadpole stuff. Take away the tadpole stuff. Do you agree or do you disagree that 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old men who are billionaires love going to parties full of beautiful women? Not tadpoles, just beautiful women. Do you agree or do you disagree? Or, better question, do you think that's a bad thing? Is that a bad thing is the question. Is that a bad thing or is that okay? Because I want to hear from the women. What do you think about that? Girls juice deals. Beautiful women juice deals. Using women as currency. Is that acceptable to the women watching? Like, can you understand that? Can you fathom that? Or is this that terrible, disgusting, or something? Because somebody says terrible. I want to be around beautiful women. Okay. I'm just saying. Because somebody said terrible. So it's terrible to look at women as, if women are willing. Okay. Okay. If women are willing. Okay, cool. Okay. So that's the first thing I want y'all to understand. He's right, but he is not making the actual point. The conversation with Epstein is tadpoles. All right. He's trying to add the point of what is wrong with a man that wants to be around beautiful women. That is not the point. So I'm asking y'all that just to keep y'all understanding of how one thing can be happening, but the other thing can't be happening. Every man on the planet, whether he's married or not, enjoys being around multiple beautiful women. Okay. And that's not wrong. And sorry, whether it's a bad thing or not, women are used to juice deals. Women are used as social currency. The guy with all the women is going to get all the billionaire, millionaire men to do work with him or deals with him or sign deals. It's a thing. All right. College recruiters do this. Some of y'all may or may not know this. College recruiters, they would, get a college prospect, a young guy who's a quarterback or whatever, and he'll get him some booty, get him his first threesome or something, off record. And next thing you know, the girls are the ones that got him to sign with this college or that college. And of course, nobody wants to talk about that, but girls do certain things and not money. It's about girls. So that's something that has always been used as currency. But what he's conflating is Epstein was doing the under blank stuff. And a lot of these men, a lot of these billionaires, for whatever reason, they want the tadpoles. And I got a theory on this also in a second.
A 70-year-old billionaire, you can't walk into a bar and meet an 18-year-old. These things are facilitated at private parties, and it needs to, for a lot of these guys, it has to be discreet. They've got wives, they've got reputations. I worked at a New York law firm, and there's ways that you can make partner. There's some people who move up because they open doors to partners while they're associates. They introduce them to someone, and the partners just like being around that person because they get access to that person in a currency that they can't get on their own. That includes hosting, cool, exotic parties, having, attractive women.
This guy's sitting.
So Brian says there's no power in a blackmail if the girls are consenting adults. That's the thing. And that's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. Well, that's the thing that Joe Rogan doesn't want to talk about, because that's the thing. That is the thing. It's usually a setup. Some of the guys are into that weird stuff, but a lot of times, especially with the Diddy case, it was a setup. You end up getting drunk at these parties and they bring in a dude with a wig, or they bring in a tadpole, and next thing you know, they get you on camera doing something with the wrong person, and now you have blackmail. But they don't want to talk about that part.
There saying shit like cool exotic parties with attractive women who are used as a currency to keep them happy so they can juice the deals. And Slow Joe's sitting there squinting his eyes while nodding his oversized shiny head. The guy who built an empire off the back of being this free-thinking spirit who is beholden to nobody is now clearly afraid to ask any questions that could implicate his billionaire buddies. Just take a look at how he decides to wrap up the episode with Greg Fitzsimmons as soon as Jamie pulls up an article about Peter Thiel's Palantir.
Palantir app ICE uses to find neighborhoods to raid. Yeah, so it is Palantir, at least for that.
Yeah, the
Nuts.
article he had, it was blocked by a paywall. I was trying to get around.
Nuts.
Joe
All right,
Rogan
Gregory.
experience can't afford to pay for.
Is
Is this it? We're wrapping it up?
Let's wrap this bitch up.
No.
It's 4 o'clock.
Whenever someone brings up Palantir or Peter Thiel, Joe will quickly change the subject or move things along. It's now clearer than ever whose side he's on.
That's a very specific illicit desire to want underage people.
Well,
How do you even find out that someone's into that?
Well, I don't think that
How do you find out if someone's into that? It's not about finding out if someone's into that. It's about putting the person in the environment and seeing how they operate. See, it's not about finding out if someone's into something. It's about putting people in a big ass room or a big ass building with different rooms and giving that person the choice to go in particular rooms. That's how you find out if someone's into that. And there's a room for this. Like, for example, say you go to this place, right? And in the lobby, everybody's just chilling. But this room says tadpoles. This room says women. This room says trans people. This room says orgy. And the way you can tell who is in what is what room they go into. And then when they go into that room, you're like, oh, they're into that. And then boom, that's how you find out. You give them the choice. You give them the option to do it. And then they just do it. If they feel comfortable or they feel safe, they're going to go in the room that they want to go in, and you just give them the option to do it. That is how you find out. You don't ask them because they're gonna say no. You make them, you get them a little inebriated, put them in an environment, and give them 6 different options, and they either gonna take each option or they're gonna go into the option that they want to go into.
Majority or anything close to it of the women were, barely legal, so to speak. But and I know that there were cases of underage, but I think
Most of it was just
most of it was
girls.
just very, very young, but not like
20-year-old
not
girls.
like 30.
Y'all see that, right? That right there is the thing. When you got the biggest podcast in the world, you have the ability to change the entire narrative of all of this.
Not like
20-year-old
not
girls.
like
20-year-old
not
girls.
like
20-year-old
not like
girls.
13
18-year-old girls.
type thing.
We have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was under 10.
And Megyn Kelly, she's another piece of shit. Megyn Kelly's another piece of shit.
Not like
20-year-old
not
girls.
like 30.
20-year-old
not
girls.
like
20-year-old
not like
girls.
13
18-year-old girls.
type thing.
We have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was under 10. I was under 14. You can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old.
What in the hell? You got to be under 10 to be preyed upon by a grown man? No, that's not the definition at all.
And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a
What?
Many of the clients are like, in countries that don't necessarily have the same norms about that
Right.
that we do. You can very easily see someone getting involved in that just because
You can easily see somebody getting involved with that. What he's literally saying is that if it's not legal, we're not going to do it. Oh, no. But if it's legal, we're going to do it. We're adults. I'm not doing something, whether it's legal or not, if it's immoral. Like, I don't understand. If we're in certain countries and it's legal, then you can do it. Why would you want to do something like that? This shit is disgusting, bro.
was not a
What?
many of the clients are like, in countries that don't necessarily have the same norms about that
Right.
that we do. You can very easily see someone getting involved in that just because girls juice deals. I do think that girls juice deals, and the fact that he had the coolest parties on
The coolest parties is crazy. The coolest parties? This man literally said Epstein had the coolest parties. Epstein had the coolest parties, y'all. The coolest parties? Are you serious?
see someone getting involved in that just because girls juice deals. I do think that girls juice deals, and the fact that he had the coolest parties on a private island with the hottest girls is
Also
something
brought
that
in
makes
a lot of intellectuals, stimulating conversation, scientists.
What the hell are you talking about? Children and intellectual people? Do you see what Joe Rogan is doing right here? Also, he was bringing in intellectuals, scientists, and astronauts. So it's super cool. So it's tadpoles and astronauts. Why would the astronauts and the intellectual people and the scientists want to hang out with tadpoles? What are you talking about? This is not a cool party just because some damn astronauts are walking around. Children are here. What the hell are you talking about? Do you see how Joe Rogan is a part of this shit? One, he brought him on in order to help him set the narrative. And then he turns around and started adding stupid shit. Come on. Well, it's also astronauts and intellectuals and scientists and smart people and Joe Rogan is cooked. Joe Rogan used to be the good guy or one of the good guys. This shit is crazy for him to turn around and say, also, there's intellectual people there. Intellectual people mixed in with tadpoles, that makes the intellectual people not intellectual. Because why are intellectual people at a party with tadpoles? They're not intellectual, stupid.
See someone getting involved in that just because girls juice deals. I do think that girls juice deals, and the fact that he had the coolest parties on a private island with the hottest girls is
Also
something
brought
that
in
makes
a lot of intellectuals, stimulating
Really?
conversations, scientists, all these very interesting people.
Scientists.
So that was part of the thing, right?
try
Really?
hosting a cool party as a guy with that with a
Without kids. Without kids. Without 8-year-olds. This man literally said, try hosting a cool party without 8-year-olds. Oh my God. It's very easy to host a party without 8-year-olds, sir. Normal people host parties with no 8-year-olds there, sir. What are you talking about? Golly.
People. So that was part of the thing, right?
try hosting a cool party as a guy with that with a bad ratio, so to speak.
Sausage party.
With a sausage party, you become an important person to know in the network because basically every male has a desire for attractive women, not saying underage, obviously, but that is like a universal.
You're right. As long as it's not tadpoles. So I 100% agree. If somebody hits me up today and says, hey, I'm hosting a cool party with grown women and it's going to be women everywhere, I'm going. I like going to strip clubs. I love being surrounded by beautiful women, especially if they naked. I'm going. But I'm not ever going to a Epstein party because I know it's going to be tadpoles there. And that is the point. You're conflating one thing with another thing, sir. Every man, like he said, would love to go to a party with beautiful women. But that is not the point.
Biological desire for men to want to be around attractive women.
And again, the whole point is he's throwing these very attractive, cool parties to get all these people together.
But that's what juices deals.
I swear, if this guy says girls juice deals one more time, I'm going to throw up. What is he trying to achieve by saying all of this shit? Like,
no, girls do juice deals. Girls definitely juice deals. If you want to invite me to sign a multi-million-dollar contract and I go and say, this is what happens with a lot of times when you get, you want somebody to sign a contract. You don't just meet them somewhere and y'all sign a contract. You hang out with them a day or a weekend before you sign the contract. You bring them on your yacht and you have a yacht party, and then you have a yacht full of women, and you let the man, whoever it is that you're inviting to sign the $1 million deal, you give him 3 chicks, and you take them down to the room, and y'all have a little orgy, and then y'all have a ball, and then he's so happy and he's so excited, and he's like, hey, so this is what we, and then you turn around and say, see, this is what we do here. This is what we do. We do this all the time. So if you sign with us, this right here, yacht parties, we do this every weekend. Women everywhere. So yes, that would cause me personally, and any other guy, whether married or not married, to sign the $1 million deal with this guy versus the other guy. So yes, girls juice deals. Grown girls juice deals. That is not the point. Epstein was using tadpoles to juice deals. Because all you got to say, sign this contract, and this can be your life. You'll get invited to these types of parties for the whole duration of the contract. And the girls, the lifestyle that you are like offering would help me sign the contract. So yes, girls juice deals. So it's not disgusting to say that. Unless it's tadpoles.
It's such a weird hill to die on. Imagine hosting cool parties with no chicks. Bro, we're talking about a trafficking ring involving
Tadpoles.
They're not
Right.
cool parties, they're fucking crime scenes. Trying to normalize this whole thing is such a wild thing to do. It became so obvious the more he went on that he clearly had an agenda.
Jeffrey Epstein asked them to do it. And Jeffrey Epstein, for the past 3 years of their lives has been the best weekend they've ever had, has made them feel alive again in their mid 50s or 60s. I'm afraid that if I say no to Jeffrey Epstein on this deal, I'm not going to get an invite to the next party. I'm not going to be able to get laid again with a girl that with women I find attractive, or that yada yada.
And this goes for married men also. Married men who have money or who have some type of influence. Married men can't cheat on their wives without getting away with it. Okay? Married men want to cheat on their wives. Not all, but a lot of married men, they get tired of their wives and they want younger women. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying what reality is. You're a 40-year-old man and your wife is 40, especially if you got kids and you got a lot of money and you have influence, you'll possibly love to be able to be in an environment that is closed off from the public, no cameras and nobody to snitch on you, and you're able to go to a party on a yacht away from everybody and sleep with younger women. I didn't say all married men. I didn't say that. I literally said not all married men. I literally said not all married men. But the majority of married men, if they had the option to sign a contract with a company that would facilitate yacht parties with young, attractive women, multiple young, attractive women, the majority of married men, the majority of unmarried men who are 40 and up would definitely go. Not all, but the majority would go because they're away from their wives, because they're on this yacht. They're away from everybody because they're on this yacht, and they're going to go. The majority of men, married or not married, are going to go. If they're 40 and up, 20-year-old, he probably has access to that type of stuff already, but a 40-year-old man is definitely going to go, married or not married, because men like women. And women don't want to be okay with that. And it's understandable. I get it. Nobody wants to get cheated on, but most men are going to go for it. But when you start adding crazy shit like tadpoles, now is a problem. Well, a bigger problem, because married men doing that is a problem. But it gets deeper and more disgusting if you end up in those situations and now tadpoles are there. But that's how they trick you. That's how they trick you. You go to the yacht parties and everything's great. You all drinking and you coked up or whatever. Next day, tadpoles are there. Then they get you on camera And now they turn around and they got you. Now you're blackmailed because you are on camera doing something crazy with a tadpole.
Epstein hooks those up. It's because it's juiced by the girls, the parties, the lifestyle that Epstein allows you to have access.
And that's how Epstein got a lot of people. Just in case you wonder how Epstein got to this or so much money or whatever. I think it was that idea. I think, in my opinion, I think Epstein became known for having these wild parties, and then it just turned nasty. That's how he kind of like, I don't know, grew in the ranks.
I find attractive, or that, yada, yada. And Epstein hooks those up. It's because it's juiced by the girls, the parties, the lifestyle that Epstein allows you to have access to.
But in the public eye, the narrative is underage girls. And this is the thing that makes it so disgusting. When people talk about it, everyone says kids on the island. This is the big conspiracy about it. The big conspiracy about it. And this is the reason why people are so outraged about it.
Everybody in the chat say R.I.P. Joe Rogan. Everybody in the chat say R.I.P. Joe Rogan. It's over. It's over. This man is toast. The man went to prison for PDF file behavior. Like, it's not a narrative. It's happening. It happened. And David says, how many other islands are out there? Every island is like Epstein Island. They buy these islands in order to be able to do stuff like this. It's not just Pedstein. They buy islands in order to get away with stuff on the island. So every island, if somebody invites you to the island, it's most likely going to be some weird shit going on. There's a lot of islands. Yes, Johnny Depp has his own island. Yes. There's a lot of islands out there, and they're owned by, a billionaire. This shit is just sad, man.
This is the thing that makes it so disgusting. When people talk about it, everyone says kids on the island. This is the big conspiracy about it.
It's not a conspiracy, stupid. It happened.
Conspiracy about it. And this is the reason why people are so outraged about it.
My concern with the runaway train on that, it's a massive manhunt for something that...
A massive manhunt? Do y'all hear the innuendo? It's a massive manhunt? This is why Joe Rogan is compromised. He brings people on his show and just sits there and looks dumb like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Oh, wow. So what happened next? Oh, so it wasn't tadpoles. They were like 20, right? Oh, okay, right. Okay. And then what happened? It's a mass conspiracy, right? Because it's not really happening. Oh, because that's a narrative that the conspiracy theorists are trying to go with, right? Oh, wow. Okay. And next thing you know, his audience is like, they're after Pedstein. No, Pedstein is in prison. They already got him. I hate this mess, y'all. And the biggest problem is, it's like the average man on TV, the average famous man is okay with PDF file behavior. Bro, Mr. Lego, respectfully, you most definitely would not go on Rogan's podcast after calling him ugly like that, you know he'd whip your ass. First of all, any man that would fight me for calling him ugly is something's wrong with him. Good morning, Connie. What are you talking about? And I could definitely go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Not now, but if I grow like in another 2-3 years, I could definitely find myself on Joe Rogan's podcast. That's not a problem. Ian Carroll went on Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm not that far away from Ian Carroll. Ian Carroll is up here. I'm like right here. Ian Carroll was on Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm not that far from Ian Carroll. Like Candace is up here, Ian Carroll is right here, and I am kind of like right here. I'm not that far from Ian Carroll. So that's not a problem. And my goal is not to be on Joe Rogan's podcast. And if Joe Rogan seen this video, he'll still have me on the podcast because it'll be a reason why I'm on the podcast that will help him out. See, they put people on the podcast in order to help the narrative that they're trying to push. And if Joe Rogan was to wake up and says, you know what, you're right, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to shun all this other stuff, he will have me on the podcast in order to set the new narrative that he's trying to set. But I don't care about being on his podcast. The only thing I said was I would go if he invited me. I didn't say I wanted to. That's not my aspiration. But Joe Rogan has everybody on his damn on his podcast, to be honest with you. But I don't know if I want to go on his podcast the way he's talking. And maybe in another year or so, he might change and say, hey, I just want to let y'all know I woke up, I'm changing my ways, and they tried to get me. Because he didn't go on an island.
I find attractive or that, yada, yada. And Epstein hooks those up. It's because it's juiced by the girls, the parties, the lifestyle that Epstein allows you to have access to.
But in the public eye, the narrative is underage girls. And this is the thing that makes it so disgusting. When people talk about it, everyone says kids on the island. This is the big conspiracy about it. The big conspiracy about it. And this is the reason why people are so outraged about it.
My concern with the runaway train on that, it's a massive manhunt for something.
That part right there just makes me want to throw up. It's not a manhunt. The man is in prison for what he did.
That it may be true. To me, it's a needle in the haystack. It might be true. Good luck looking for it. When I think about it logically, with the role that Epstein played between BCCI, Iran-Contra, Latin American politics, African politics, Asian politics, major world foundations, it would seem ludicrous to me.
And if there were some kids there, oh, well, good luck proving it. It's a needle in a haystack, right? I mean, it's not like we have millions of pages of evidence that proves exactly that.
Exactly.
My thing about all this is like, oh, wait, this dude was good at helping you cheat on your taxes, whatever. He had something about that. Second of all, he probably went, oh, wait, nerds want to get laid and they cheat on their wives, no matter how rich and powerful they are. Here's a plane and a island.
Yeah,
so
but what about all the young
overall,
kids?
it sounds like he was he was a pimp to nerds.
What about the young kid though?
He had a penchant for like 14, 15,
And
16
so did some other very famous.
Well, there's a lot of emails. Like there's
We
emails
don't
saying
know yet,
really
right?
enjoyed that the 9-year-old, was it 9-year-old
Nice.
Brazilian?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
Wait,
and
what?
massages on kids and shit.
Wait,
Yeah.
where'd that
They said
come in?
really enjoyed the young one
Who
today.
said that?
Yeah.
There's
It's all in the files.
Hey, she was
Sis, you should have been a detective. There's a lot of good men out there. I'm not just going to say that I'm rare. No, there's a lot of good men out there. And I think that's a misconception with men. You You look at Joe Rogan, and you look at all these people worse than Joe Rogan, and you can start thinking like there's not good men out there. I think there are millions of good men out there. They're just not famous, you know. That's all. I'm just letting y'all know that there's a lot of good women out here, and there's a lot of good men out here. Just not the famous people. Because like I said, when you get a certain amount of fame, see, I don't want to be famous. I just want the money. I don't care about the fame. So when you get famous, they put you in a position where you're now one of them, and you got to do some weird stuff in order to be one of them. And, you know, so the famous men are the problem. The non-famous men, there's plenty of us that are good. That's all I want to say. There's a lot of good men out there. I just want y'all to know that.
14, guys.
What is your take? What the is going on? Woody Allen now.
Yeah.
And there's
Wait,
massages on kids and shit.
Wait.
Yeah.
Where'd that
They
come
said
in?
really enjoyed the young one today.
Who said that?
Yeah.
It's
all in the files.
Hey, she was 14, guys.
What is your take? What the is going on? Woody Allen now you defend Epstein?
Woody Allen's a very different story. Woody Allen's totally different.
It's weird you're dating your stepdaughter.
It's still legal.
See, that's what they love to say. It's still legal. Why does something have to be legal for you to say, I'm not doing it or it's wrong? These are grown ass men.
How is it possible that Walt Disney Corporation has anything to do with biomedical and scientific British publication? And here's how that interlinks. It's just crazy. After World War II, Charles Darwin's grandson and Fleming, the guy who discovered penicillin, they went to the British government and they said, hey, we think you need to improve biomedical and scientific publishing house. And so they said, no problem. They combined these two publishing houses, and guess who they put in as the editor? This is where we start getting into the Disney realm. Okay, they hired as the editor of this Robert Maxwell. Now, Robert Maxwell has nothing to do with medical education, right, or scientific publication. But it turns out that the owner of the largest scientific publishing house in England, all during the war and before and after, it was the intelligence services owned their publishing. So now they hire Robert Maxwell, who was a proven and admitted a spy for the British during World War II, but he was also a Mossad agent because he's buried on the Mount of Olives.
And I want to share something that was shared with me, and I'm going to look into it, but I heard, I got to do research myself, but I heard that the company that runs yearbooks for schools, you know, you take your picture in the yearbook. I heard that the company that is in charge of all the yearbooks in all schools is one particular company. And that company was on Epstein Island or Pedstein Island. What does that have to do with anything? Well, that means the company that is in charge of having a database of all of us for 10 years, I would say, was on Epstein Island. Did y'all know that it's a company that is behind the middle school, elementary school, and high school yearbooks? And they were on Epstein Island? I'm gonna do a separate show about that. But did y'all know that? It's a company. So when you take, because some of y'all have kids in school and they are taking yearbook pictures. Did y'all know that your name is under the yearbook picture? And now that's a database of your children and their name, their first and last name with their face? and it goes into a database. And then you go to middle school and you take another picture and they match your aging face and how you've gotten older. And then you go to high school and you take another picture. It's a company that holds the database of billions of children throughout their lifetime from a 10-year span or more, so they can see how your face progressed from when you was in elementary school to when you're in high school. And they got your name and all your information. And we all have school transcripts, so they know your social security number also. That is crazy. And that company was on Epstein Island. It's on, no, the company, the owner of the company that is in charge of yearbook pictures, the owner or owners were on Epstein Island. They're in the Epstein files. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to do some more research. But they are in the files. So if your kid is in school, do not allow them to take yearbook photos. So I'm going to say it again. You have children, you have grandchildren that are in elementary school, middle school, high school. Do not allow your child to take yearbook photos. I'm going to do a separate live stream about that. But do not allow your child or your grandchildren or your nieces or your nephews to take yearbook photos. We can keep moving on. I just want y'all to know that. Do not allow your children to take yearbook photos. So before we keep going on with this, let me play this. Shit is crazy.
Healing is sweeping the country.
We'll be right back, y'all. Come right
This
back.
just in, a new way of healing is sweeping the country, and it's a card game called Like Mother, Like Daughter. This game is powerful.
My favorite question was, if you could parent me all over again, what would you change? This card game has a mother deck and a daughter deck, so we both have questions for each other.
These are some good questions. Do you think I'm a people pleaser? If so, where did I get this trait from?
This card game actually helped my marriage, and the questions showed me that I still had unresolved issues with my mom, and I was taking them out on my husband.
If you don't do anything else, buy this card game. You won't regret it. Click the link below.
Like mother, like daughter, we are the same. You'll see when we play this game.
Well, he's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now,
all right, so I want to make sure y'all know who Ghislaine Maxwell's dad is. So it's this guy right here.
they hire Robert Maxwell, who was a proven, admitted a spy for the British during World War II, but he was also a Mossad agent because he's buried on the Mount of Olives. Who's Robert Maxwell? He's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the Disney Corporation, it turns out, his son is named Robert Maxwell Iger because he was a best buddy of Robert Maxwell. And then you have the whole issue of Ghislaine Maxwell with Jeffrey Epstein and the whole pedophile problem. It turns out the Disney Corporation has cruise ships that would go and do diving things off St. James or the neighboring island. It's all big.
So do y'all know another fun fact? Fun fact that cruise ships, a lot of cruise ships, I'm not just saying all cruise ships. So I'm not saying all cruise ships, I don't want to get sued, but a lot of cruise ships, the Disney Cruise Line, maybe, I don't know, are selling people to other countries. Did y'all know that? So what happens is you'll go on a cruise line and it'll be like, depending on how big the cruise line is, 100 to 2,000 people. Well, I don't know about 2,000. Let me see. How many people can be on a large cruise line? 3,000 to 7,600 passengers. Okay. So did y'all know that cruise lines sell people to other countries? So this is what happens. You go on a major cruise line and you go to another country and you dock. And next thing you know, they say, hey, be back by this time. And you go out and have fun. And guess what? About 200 people out of those 2,000 people don't make it back to the cruise line. And they go to another country. And the same thing happens there. Because, these cruises be like 4-day long cruises. What's up, Arthur? Put a 1 in the chat if you are familiar with this or have ever heard of this. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of this. I'm not going to say I will never, but see, the thing about it is on a cruise line, you don't have cell phone service. You don't have cell phone service. You have Wi-Fi. You don't have cell phone service. You could text or whatever, but your cell phone service can be, knocked out pretty easily. So say you are on a cruise, you and your girlfriend, or y'all have a girls trip, right? And say you and your 5 girlfriends go out and y'all having a ball or whatever, y'all drinking and stuff. Y'all got the drink ticket, you pay for the drink ticket. So you got all the drinks that you want. And then next thing you know, y'all dock and y'all leave out and y'all are now on international waters and y'all are having a ball. Y'all don't make it back home. All y'all gone. Because they have your name, address, or they have your name and all your information. They got your picture. And before the cruise makes it to the other country, they set things up where, because like I said, they have everything. They see you coming a mile away because they're like, all right, we're about to dock. Okay, cool. And they see y'all walking around like, oh my God, we're in so-and-so. And then boom. You gone. And then cruise line says, hey, we're not responsible for anybody that doesn't make it on the ship because it's your prerogative. You signed a contract saying that we leave at 6 o'clock. So if you don't get on the ship, we're not responsible for who doesn't get on the ship. Next thing you know, they head to the next country. This is a fact. Not all, but this is a actual fact that this happens with large cruise lines. Not all cruise lines, but it is a fact that it happens. They selling you to another country and you have no idea.
One incestuous thing, but one of the things that flows through everything, it shows the pedophile connection to all of this. So who they are people that have big enough money for universal censorship, big enough money to come after, doctors all over the world, take over the system to come after us all over the world. And they're connected heavily by funding from pedophilia and the
all right, she's saying P word way too much. I don't want to, she's saying way too much. I have a theory I want to share with y'all. Put a one in the chat if y'all want to hear my theory. It's crazy, but it's crazy. But put a one in the chat if y'all want to hear my crazy theory. Put a one in the chat if y'all want to hear my crazy theory.
Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button.
Put a one in the chat if y'all want to hear my crazy theory. So I'm beginning to think that time travel may be real. And this is just a theory, all right? And y'all might think I'm crazy for saying this. But what if you can travel back 20 years? Say you can travel back 20 years. Say there's a way you can travel back 20 years. And you can redo all things that you did wrong. You can find your love and you can make sure she's the one or whatever. You can play Powerball and actually win. You can do all the things that you wish you could do over. Everything you wanted to do, you can now do because you got another chance. Say yes or no if you would love to go back 20 years. Say yes or no, whether you do want or want to or not. Say yes or no if you would love to go back in time 20 years to redo your life. Say yes or no in the chat. Because some of y'all might be like, no, I'm good. I have a good life. Say yes or no if you would love to go back 20 years and start your life all over again. With the brain you have now. So you have the brain you have now, but you'll be a whatever old person, whatever the 20 years ago is. So I'm getting yeses and nos. Okay. So I want y'all to think about this. And this is just a theory. Say this exists and you can do it and you can become a millionaire because you can invest in Bitcoin when it first starts. You can invest in stocks, you can invest in whatever it is. You can, become famous because you can invent something before somebody invents it, right? But there's one thing that you have to do. Y'all ready for this? When you go back in time, you now deteriorate twice as fast. So you have to do something in order to stay alive. And that is, you have to eat tadpoles. You have to eat tadpoles. So what if the reason why all of these billionaires seem to all be doing these rituals and eating tadpoles because it's like, why are you a billionaire and all of a sudden you want to eat tadpoles? Why? Why is it the billionaires that are eating tadpoles? Why is it why poor people aren't eating tadpoles? Poor people ain't running around eating tadpoles. Why is it the billionaires that are eating tadpoles? So if you had the ability to time travel back 20 years and you can invest in whatever it is that you want to invest in, and now you can live your life all over again. Now you wake up, you're 23 years old with the brain you have now. But in order to stay alive, you have to eat tadpoles. And if you don't, you're going to deteriorate like super fast. You'll literally die if you don't eat tadpoles, adrenochrome or whatever. Now, who would sign up for that? What if you actually were able to do this and you didn't find out that you have to eat tadpoles until you are there? So I'm going to ask y'all a question. If you went back in time and you are now a 22-year-old or whatever year old person, you're 19 years old, and you have the brain and you're smart, and you're like, oh shit, it's 1992. It's whatever year you graduate from high school, and you just like, oh shit. And you're like, and then say somebody comes to you and say, hey, say before you go in time, they say, hey, you have to report to this place in order to get, because you have to go to a special hospital, right? I want to paint it out for you. Say you go and they say, so what's going to happen to me? Oh, nothing. You just have to report to this particular hospital because they have to, check you out or whatever, because something does change with your body. But for this to be able to happen and for you to not die, you had to report to this hospital. And then you go to the hospital, and then when you go to the hospital, after you don't went back in time, they say, okay, I don't know if they told you this, but you have to eat tadpoles in order to survive. You're like, what? Yes, you have to eat tadpoles in order to survive. And if you don't, you're going to die within like 2 years. Wait, what? I was healthy before I went back in time. I didn't come back in time to die. You don't have to die. You just have to eat tadpoles. I'm not doing that. Well, you're going to die in 2 years. So now you're like 19 years old being told that you're going to die by the time you're 21. You could become famous. You could do anything because you have the brain of who you are now. You can invent something. You can invent the iPhone, or you can invent this or whatever. You can do whatever it is you want. You can play the lottery because you know what number is going to hit. You can play and you could become a millionaire, billionaire easily because you have all the answers. You know what is about to happen. You can become a podcaster and predict the future if you want to. You can do anything you want. The world is at your fingertips. But in order to stay alive, you have to eat tadpoles. And there's this place that facilitates this for you. So you ain't got to just run and, go to you ain't got to do all that. You just go to the place. And I think that's what they're doing. And y'all might think I'm crazy. But I just am confused on why all of these billionaires, whether it's Bill Gates or any of them, are doing all this crazy stuff. And they don't die. Joe Biden won't die. His skin is literally peeling off his face. He won't die. They don't die. They live till like they're 90. Black people, famous black people, they die at 50. But white people, their face be peeling off and shit. They be looking all like this, but they don't die. They stay alive till they're like 90. What if it's because of the adrenochrome? What if you have to eat or drink tadpoles in order to keep your youth. It's called adrenochrome. I think it's what's happening. And none of us have access to this. So we're like, oh my God, that's terrible. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. Because it's like when you become a millionaire or a billionaire, why don't you just retire and not do nothing? It's like you got to do more crazy stuff when you get money. Isn't the point of becoming rich to not have to do stuff? It's like they have to do these satanic rituals, or they have to be around these weirdos. They have to go to Pedstein Island. They have to do all these things with tadpoles, but they got money. You got money, you don't have to do this stuff. I think they have to do the stuff because of how they got the money. You have to do the stuff because you got the money in a strange way. Somebody said they're bored. And you're going to eat tadpoles because you're bored? I've ever been bored and I'm like, hey, I want to eat a person. What? If I'm bored, I'm going to go to another country. If I'm bored, I'm going to play video games. If I'm bored, I'm going to go out and eat. I'm bored and I'm rich. I'm going to go on my yacht and invite 30 beautiful women and have a huge orgy. Why would you want to eat tadpoles if you're bored? If I had a lot of money, I'd probably just do orgies on my yacht like every week. Every weekend, I'll just do yacht orgies, like if I had a whole bunch of money. But why would I just eating? I'm not going to eat people. Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry, y'all. If I was rich, I'll have yacht orgies every weekend. But I just don't understand all this devil worshiping stuff. And I think it's like there's something going on that we're never going to know. But I don't know. But I'm out of here. I'm trying to make my live streams shorter, like an hour. So I'm trying to get down, but I get to just spending time with y'all, and I don't want to go, but I'm trying to make my live streams shorter. So I'm trying to get down to like 1 hour. Now I'm at 1:30. So I will talk to y'all later, and I may go live later on this evening about some more stuff. So I'm not exactly sure, but talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day, and I may go live again this later on this evening. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, and on top of that, hit the notification bell. Do y'all get y'all notifications when I go live? Yes or no? Do y'all get notifications of me being live? Like, how do y'all get notified when to know that I'm live? Nope. Sometimes, okay. Do y'all get notifications? Nope, no. So, okay, yup. All right, nope, not anymore. So make sure to hit the notification bell to make sure y'all are getting notifications. No, I didn't get it. Okay. See, so nobody's getting notifications. Oh, it's okay. But make sure to check your notifications. Make sure you're getting them. So talk to y'all later. And make sure to hit the hype button.
And it's a card game called Like Mother. This just in, a new way of healing is sweeping the country, and it's a card game called Like Mother, Like Daughter.
Come on, computer, stop.
This just in, a new way of healing is sweeping the country. And it's a card game called Like Mother, Like Daughter. This game is powerful.
My favorite question was, if you could parent me all over again, what would you change? This card game has a mother deck and a daughter deck, so we both have questions for each other.
These are some good questions. Do you think I'm a people pleaser? If so, where did I get this trait from? This card game actually helped my marriage, and the questions showed me that I still had unresolved issues with my mom, and I was taking them out on my husband.
If you don't do anything else, buy this card game. You won't regret it. Click the link below.
Like mother, like daughter, we are the same. You'll see